a little bit about the story of this third one, and what do you want fans to know?
Cool. Well, for John Wick Chapter 3, we call it Parabellum, which is a Latin phrase for, or derived from Si vis pacem parabellum. If you want peace, prepare for war. We thought it was a cool way to break into the John Wick chapters, as we call them. If you watch John Wick 1 to 2, they almost take off where the other one ends, and 3 takes place pretty much where number 2 ends, so it's another chapter in it. We're picking John Wick up right where he left off, so there's a bounty on his head. All the assassins in the Kimura and the what we call the High Table, which is their overall ruling organization, all want John dead. He's done something wrong. He's killed somebody in the Continental Hotel, which is breaking the rules. So there's that aspect where John's running from breaking the rules, and there's an aspect that all the freelance guys want him dead for $14 million. And in order to do that, John has to seek not only absolution for himself, but forgiveness from, again, the High Table to somehow get him out of the hot spot that he's now in.
We are in the editing room right now. Have you been living and breathing in this room for this
little rectangular box is our world, these 2 screens and what's left of my brain, yes. And the hallway of editors, sound mixers, visual effects, and music composers, yeah.
Where are you in the edit with the release date coming May 17th?
May 17th, coming up quick. We've been through our assembly, our director's cut, our first test screening cut, and every time, we're shaving it down, trying to get to the heart of the story and dial in the action sequences so a certain pacing, both story-wise and action-wise. I think we've probably got, for some kind of, it's 20% more movie than number 2, so the script was a little bit thicker. There's more characters in this one, and we've upped the action, I think, by at least 3 sequences, which means the body count is substantially higher. So we're trying to find a nice pacing for all that.
What is when you have a movie coming up May 17th, there's obviously a due date to the studio where it's the drop date.
Picture lock, yeah.
Yeah, so what date do you have to deliver the movie?
It's depending on how a different studio releases, or where the foreign market is, or how they're released in theaters is, kind of depends how much leeway we have. I have about 5 weeks left before I have to actually picture lock or visually lock the movie, and then VFX, sound, and music we can still keep adding and playing with that stuff, but the actual visuals of the movie are going to be locked within 5 weeks. 5 to 6 weeks.
Sure. Obviously, people love seeing Keanu kick ass, and John Wick is about the incredible
Keanu kicking ass demo.
Right, like it's phenomenal action set pieces. What can you tease in terms of how many action set pieces are in this film, and the way you upped the ante compared to the first 2?
Again, like the overall vibe of how myself and my partner at the time, Dave Leitch, kind of did the first John Wick was, okay, well, we didn't have a lot of money on the first one, so we tried to keep it look, we're going to do this a little bit more organic, a little bit more old school stunt and action wise, where no wire work, minimal stunt doubles, try to contain it to things like cars, motorcycles, fights, falls, flips, things that can be organically done with our cast without big VFX costs or big action sequence costs of collapsing buildings and earthquakes and all that. So when we started designing the sequence, there was a lot of fights and the gun fu that you see. And the reason we do all the judo and jiu-jitsu and contact or grappling arts is because you don't have to do a lot of reverses with punches, hits, misses. There's not a lot of high kicking or big aerial stuff that some of the bigger movies will do, because it takes time and stunt doubles and digi-doubles, and we wanted to keep it all. Look, we're going to train Keanu to the best of our ability, or anybody in our cast for that matter, to the best of the ability with the time we have, modify the action choreography or the martial art aspect of it to what we think is achievable, and to design all the sequences around that. So we've had now 3 movies with Keanu. He's been training pretty much the whole time, so his martial art choreography, his punches, kicks, flips, falls, fights are better. His weapon-based stuff, so like firearms, knives are better. He's a professional motorcycle rider, so we used a little of that. We kind of lean into what Keanu was really good at. And then I think we have, depending how you cut up, like 8 or 9 action sequences that are true sequences or fight scenes. And in each one we try to do a little bit of a different gag to it. Like he may be empty hands, this may be more firearms, this may be more, let's call it a canine aspect. One may be above or below water, one may be on motorcycles, and then the set pieces we change. So every vibe should be a little bit different. So it's more of an eclectic assortment of action sequences rather than just a fight. If that makes any sense.
Completely. One of the things I really love about the films is that you do have these long shots, which show that it's Keanu. How does that continue in this film? And do you have those shots with Halle and the
Yeah.
other?
Again, it's the everything's good. I mean, every action movie, every director, every editor, every action choreographer has their vibe. Whether it's the Bournes, where it's a little bit more shaky and fast editing, or Marvel, which is bigger and condensed and in and out, or if it's like John Wick, where you try to do longer takes. Like, I certainly don't try to do one-take wonders, this long one-shot thing. I just believe in order to suck you into the movie, rather than cutting and seeing, what is obviously a stunt double or a digi-double or trying to hide things, I'd rather show things off at the sacrifice of trying to be fast and interject pacing. If you have a good cast member, like Keanu, that can do the choreography, has a good memory, and can perform at a level, I'd rather you see that, and I think that vests you more into the character of John Wick. Keanu is John. If Keanu can do it, you'd believe, oh, well, John Wick can do it because Keanu can do it. Like, you're seeing an actual human do a bunch of cool moves, time it right, shoot the gun, do the reloads, do the cool flip, do the shoulder roll, come back, oh my god, here comes a dog. If I hold in longer takes, I think that sucks the audience more into the action a little bit, rather than just trying to infuse something that wasn't there in the rehearsal. Like, hopefully, if people saw our rehearsal tapes or our previs tapes or our pre-visualization tapes that the stunt guys do for us to see what we're doing, you should watch those and go, wow, holy shit, those look really good too. So I'm just recording what's already been rehearsed. That's great. If you watch a rehearsal tape and you're bored out of your mind, then you got to go into problem solving, like, this isn't going to work. How are we going to do this? Okay, let's shoot really tight and shake it around. I think that style's become more about hiding things and infusing energy, action, and pacing into something that didn't have it in the first place. We just said, well, that's kind of a pain in the ass. Chuck that. Let's try to make it great from the beginning, and then leave it up to me to fuck it up. If I screw it up, but at least it's there to begin with. And I think that's what the longer takes or the more involved choreography is. And again, John Wick is a modern day fantasy kind of adventure thing. So rather than swords of Knights of the Round Table, we use pistols or rifles or whatever it is. And we want the audience to know we're having fun, but we also see, like, look, cool people that put time in and energy and actually practice can do cool things. And that's kind of what the John Wick vibe is, with whether it's Halle, and yes, we do, I think some of the most impressive shots or takes are with Halle Berry and Keanu and the dogs all interlinking into a sequence.
Cannot wait. Definitely want to know about in the editing room. It's ultimately the final rewrite. What have you learned while in the editing room? And you mentioned you had a longer script and everything. So was your first cut like a lot longer? Like what's it been like?
Again, not gonna lie to you. Like, this is my third film as a director. As an action director, I have a good sense of pacing of how many days to shoot what and what that comes like in editorial to get a pacing. When you step into the director chair, it's not just about hurrying up and duration of the film, to hurry up and get an hour 90-minute film or a 90-minute film or an hour and a half film. It's about how to give the audience a break and find that natural pacing of, okay, let's have some really fun, let's have a good laugh, let's have some dramatic, let's find the ebb and flow of the film. So John Wick was what I would call more of a two-act kind of thing. People kill dog, John goes kills everybody. You're on the ride. Right. The character arc's going to be a little shallow after that, and we know that. We want to have fun with it. In Parabellum, it's a lot more. There's two storylines going on with Ian McShane and Keanu. What's going on in New York and what's going on with John Wick as we follow his character. So as a director, the pacing is a little bit different. It's more of a 3-act film as opposed to the other two, or more 2-act films. So I guess editorially, it comes down to, okay, with a longer script, you can put everything that you've shot into it, and that becomes about 2 hours and 46 minutes, which is a little too long, and a lot of it is repetitive, and a lot of it kind of, it's almost too much. So sometimes you can bring things out by subtracting things, by really highlighting some thematic moments and what the story is really about, and how to get to story points quicker. And when you get into editorial, you learn very quickly how to reduce, or like they say with good sculpting, is chip away the unessentials. So you may have something that reads very well, but visually it may be more of a speed bump than an enhancement, and just editorial's the experimentation, the painful creative experimentation of removing what gets in the way of something great.
You mentioned that you did a test screening recently. Test screenings can sometimes really impact a film because you learn what the audience,
absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
What did you learn from any screenings that have, shined a light on something?
I think when you're in a test screening, for those that don't know what it is, they actively recruit, and they can recruit people that know what the film is, or they can do a blind recruit, which you don't know, and you get surprised, and you get a mixed bag of audience members that either are action fans or non-action fans. Either way, it's I look at it as two stages. There's the during the show, hearing the audience, reacting with them, being in there and feeling the vibe when people are bored, excited, and then there's the after when they have to fill out the forms. I love like. A good example I always use is like, I love the original Highlander. Like if you go watch it, like there's something about the vibe, but if I were to sit down and break it down on a piece of paper, it's one of the worst films I think I've ever seen. The point is, if I'm watching it, I'm going to cheer. And when I write it down, I think about, well, the editing wasn't great, the lighting it doesn't really hold up in time, but so you have to take both with both. What I'm saying is, I look at the audience reaction when I'm sitting in a crowd of 500 people, and people laugh, and people cheer. Those are honest reactions. You don't have to think about it, they just happen. That's one very important spot. Like, okay, we're hitting our beats, it's good. And then you go into the second phase, which is, okay, they're writing down, where were you confused? What did you not get? What did you understand? How much did you like each person? That you got to take it with a little grain of salt and figure out what kind of fans you're dealing with and how not to overthink a note, but also characterized by that. Pacing is always a really true note. Like, you know, there's a lot of contrary. Like, what's the best thing you liked about John Wick 3? We love the action. We love the action. Okay. Well, what's the best? Well, there's just a lot of action. A lot of action. Okay. So your best note and your worst note are the same thing. It's a tricky one to handle. We love your action, but we want you to change it. But if you change it, we may hate it. Right. Okay. So you love all the action. Oh, it's the best action-packed movie we've ever seen. But there's too much. Okay. What do you want to cut? We don't know. Good luck. And that is a director saying.
Right, I gotta pause. I've never heard that from any director. As a note, we love the action, and there's too much action.
Oh, I've got it on all 3 John Wicks.
That's crazy.
We love the headshots, but it's so repetitive. Shoots guys in the heads. That's because you're not seeing with the headshots. And like, the same reason you love us, the same reason you hate us. The same reason you hate us, the same reason you love us. That's the trick of it. So you just go, okay, do you go with the John Wick fans? Like, yeah, just go. We want to see more. Or do you try to trim so that somebody that's not an action movie fan just hurts them get through it? We try to do real choreography. Like, anybody that does Aikido, Aikijitsu, Jiu-Jitsu, Judo, Sambo will watch it and go, holy shit, you really learned that stuff. Anybody that knows anything about tactical firearm work will look at it and go, oh my god, he's doing the real deal. If you're not familiar with those disciplines, you'd be like, oh, it's all the same. He's shooting guys in the head 20 times. Okay, yes, we do it for both sides. We try to get the energy and the humor for all of our audience, but we also try to put in a specific set. If you are into genre stuff, if you're into Kurosawa, if you're into Sergio Leoni, if you like spaghetti westerns, if you like kung fu movies, you're going to see a lot of references in here that the generic fan would not get. If you're a martial art enthusiast, or you're a firearm enthusiast, or you're a motorcycle enthusiast, or a sword enthusiast, you're going to get a lot more out of this than most. And coming from, let's just say, a very nerdy upbringing, I like throwing that stuff in there, and I like throwing those in there, and that's why we kind of overdo it a little bit. Just to kind of throw a little nod to all the people out there that love the same kind of stuff we love. Otherwise, we wouldn't have made the movie in the first place.
Totally. I got 2 last questions for you. We saw a picture a long time ago about Keanu on the horse, and I've been waiting to. I'm really anticipating this scene. What can you tease about Keanu on a horse in New York City? I'll start with that.
Well, again, like you just riffed, I love Sergio Leoni. I'm a big fan of old school westerns, and especially the Leoni westerns. So, I spent so much time in New York trying to come up with, for people that don't know, a lot of times the writer can write a scene, happens in warehouse, and a fight scene in a warehouse to us at this stage is very boring. So we try to find set pieces for the action first, like, okay, we want to do it in a glass house, we want to do it in a mirror room, we want to do it in a waterfall, and then design the action around a cool set piece to give an aesthetic to it. And we wanted to do a bit of a chase, but we've done car chases, and we've done motorcycle chases, and we did boat chases, and we did airplane chases. We're like, horses. And we know Keanu are riffing. Okay, I made Keanu make a list of everything he could do at the beginning of the movie. And he had, done a lot of riding back in the day, and he had done 47 Ronin, which was required to do a lot of riding. And I'm like, you sure you're good? He's like, I got a horse all day. And so we took him to the stables, and he rode a horse. We're like, hey, pretty good. He can ride a horse. We're like, okay, we're going to have you ride a horse through New York. And he went, come again? Well, I had done a preliminary scout there, and we went through Central Park, and it was freezing cold out, and there was all the carriages by Central Park and the horses. And we had this random questions like, I wonder where they put these guys. So we asked one of the carriage drivers, like, where do you... And literally, 2 blocks off Central Park, there was these little, like right in Manhattan, of these stables. And it would look like a regular 5-story building with just stables in it. We're like, John Wick runs into a stable. We got it. Horses. We're doing a horse sequence. Keanu, you're riding. You're going to go underneath the elevated train in Brooklyn. We're riding a horse. He's like, really? It's like, yeah. You're going to do some Sergio Leoni shit, and you're going to ride a horse, and you're going to use a revolver. Done.
That's crazy. I had no idea they had that horse stables like that were right there.
We didn't either. And it was like, okay. So we're like, okay, that's different about New York, and only in New York. I fucking love New York for action. It's awesome.
That's amazing. My last